Today, we are going to wrap the 70-200. It's one of the most popular lenses, 70-200 focal length for almost any camera. I know a lot of you guys have this, you don't even use it. I don't use it, but it just looks damn cool. And the first thing that we're gonna do is understand the skins. Now, the best recommendation I can have is start from the top and then work yourself towards the bottom. They're all indicated in a specific sequence. But again, you could do this at your own discretion, do it however you feel comfortable, but this is the better way of doing it, I think. So what we want to do is understand where each part goes. This is obviously for the hood. You can see here, there is a cutout. That cutout is for the Sony logo. It should be noted that you want to start with the easiest parts first. If this is your first time doing it, I don't recommend the large hood section. Maybe you could start with the top strip and then work yourself up to the bigger parts once you feel comfortable. However, if you're already familiar with installation guide, you just need some quick tips. The one thing I would recommend is start from the top down. So let's start this off on a beginner level. Now all these skins have indicators on them. What I recommend doing is loosening the tripod feet so you can actually rotate it. It makes installation a lot easier. I'm gonna have to go back to the top strip. And then first we just align with the indicator, that little red dot right there. And once you have that, I like to apply just a little bit of pressure just to this section. And then I like to lift it up. I like to take one side of the skin and rotate the lens into it without stretching. And just align it flush with the edges. Like so. Same with the other side. You can flip it around if it makes it easier. And you want to make sure that it's not deviating and it's straight. Straight and flush with both edges from top to bottom. And once you get to the end, you notice that where the two seams meet, they should just fall into place like so. And right there and then, you know it's complete. You can go ahead and apply pressure to it. If you don't want to use your fingers, you can easily just use a towel or something to go over the pressure application. So there are many ways to apply large section vinyl. The easiest way would be to peel half and apply half. I kind of don't like that. What I like to do is peel the entire thing off. Just work on the hood section by itself. And the first thing I like to do is hold the two edges. You don't want to apply any pressure to the skin. You just want to hold it very lightly. You don't want to press in on anything. Then we're just going to lay it down until it covers the Sony logo. And it should be dead center. And once you have that, if you don't get it right the first time, you can always peel these off. They do come off easy, see? And you can just peel it off and reapply until it's flush and straight with the edges. Now that I have that section covered, I'm gonna take one side. You can leave the other one. It's not gonna tack on unless you apply pressure. So once we have the Sony logo applied, we're just gonna hold this side and we're just gonna slowly go over all the edges, making sure it's flush. And as we get to the end, we wanna make sure all the areas are flush before we apply any pressure. Now when we move to the other side, you see here we didn't apply pressure, so it didn't stick. We're gonna do the same thing. We're just going to align it. Super easy. Do not panic. And once you get to the end where the seams meet, they should be completely flush with each other. Now sometimes you might get air bubbles. That's pretty easy to alleviate. What we do is lightly peel it. Now, if you have any problems anywhere, any section, you can lightly peel this and reapply. Now, if you deform the skin, I do recommend peeling it off a little bit, getting a little bit of heat on there. So if you have a hair dryer or a heat gun, just hit it really soft and it should shrink back to its original form. But since I did not deform the skin, all I did was peel it. We don't have that issue. So as you go towards the end, you want to make sure there are no air gaps, air bubbles, and just seal it off like so. You can use your fingers to go over all rough sections, any bubbles. They should just go away. These do have air channels for air to escape. So if you do have a bubble, it should dissipate. And that's the hood. We got the hardest part out of the way. Next, we're gonna do the bottom section of the hood. Again, you wanna look for a leading indicator. So that would be this red dot. And there is a cutout for that red dot. We're about to see that as I come in here, align the red dot, and the rest should fall into place. See here, the hood release perfectly cut and aligned. And then we're not gonna stretch the skin, we're just gonna go over it. Now, if you notice that the skin doesn't come far enough, you could lightly stretch it. Now that happens when we're working in cold conditions where the skin will shrink. These are vinyl, but you don't want to stretch the skin from the start. You only stretch it if it's necessary to close the gap. Just like so. You can see all the indicators are lined up perfectly and the cutouts. You don't have to install it, but if you wanted to, it's there as an option. So you might want to use a tweezer for this if you don't have steady hands, or like me, your fingers are a little bit chubby. What you want to do is you want to line the triangle. So we're going to pull this all the way down first. You're going to align the triangle. The lower the better. You want to make sure that the vinyl can go under this mechanism. So once you have that done, it should not stick to any of the edges. It should stick outside of it. You can use your nails, or if you have a squeegee, you can use that too. What I like to do is just use the paper, the backing paper of the vinyl, and make sure to tuck it in there. And once you're confirmed that this is underneath the lens hood, it'll slide in and out. You're not gonna have any issues. Look at that. So that's how you install this filter door. And then the final piece is the hood button. Super simple. You don't really need tools for this installation if you're confident. However, I totally agree that if this is your first time, you're uncomfortable installing this, definitely get the application kit. It comes with the tweezer and squeegee. Now we move on to the body of the lens. These parts are always fun. Basically, all the skins come pre-cut with all the indicators cut out, so it's pretty obvious where each part goes. So we'll do the part with the Gmaster logo. Again, you want to peel these off gently as to not stretch or deform them. And then we're going to find the indicator. Super simple. Sometimes they just fall into place. Like so. Look at that. You don't even have to tug or pull anything. They just fall right into place. No need to stretch. I like to roll the lens as I'm applying. I find that to be the easiest way to put on these skins. And look at that. They fall right into place. You want to make sure that the barrel, the focus, and the zoom barrels are not interfered with the skins. You're going to have issues with the focus barrel not moving or becoming very stiff. As you can see here, since these are perfectly aligned, I have no issues with the focus ring. As we move on to the switch section, this part is a little bit trickier because of how thin these strips are here. So what I recommend doing is peeling both sides before applying. So we want to peel here, so we pre-peel it. Next, we're going to peel from the longer side. And what that does is it releases a lot of the stress tension if you were just to peel from one side. So once we have that done, you can see here, rotate it like so we can see the 70 to 200 lettering. And what I want to do is hold both sides, and we're just gonna slowly dip it in. We're gonna make sure that it falls into place, and you can tell when the two dots from the top and bottom are aligned. And once you have that confirmed, I like to apply just a little bit of pressure so it holds. You don't want this to stick on anything. You want to lightly peel that up, and you're just ever so slightly just gonna tug it down. Do not apply any pressure. So once you get to this section, do not stretch it at all. You just want it to guide the two thin strips along the edges, and it should just fall into place like so. If you stretch it, you're gonna ruin the integrity of it. And once that's done, go ahead and lock it in. We don't need to adjust this part anymore. Now we can work on the other side. Again, it's really easy if you have the tripod foot section loose, so you can rotate it out of the way. And now we're back to the other side. We're just gonna align it flush with the edges. And once it gets to the end, we're just gonna apply pressure to close the gap. You can see here, the gap is closed perfectly. Sometimes you might get a little bit of seam. What you could do is lightly peel it back and reapply it. That should give it enough stretch to fill in the gap. Everything else is pretty straightforward from here on out. I like to start from this side with the wheel. There is a cutout, as you can see, to go around it. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna align it again with the dots. It's always great if you have the dots perfectly centered, and the pieces should just go in like so. And you can also use a tweezer to help you guide it, but I've done this too many times and it's just faster without the tweezer for me. And if you have everything aligned, if you have the first dot aligned, the other dots should fall right into place like so. See the first dot here, second dot, look at this, third dot, perfect alignment. These are precision cut to almost near exact dimensions, so they're as good as it gets. Now before I apply the last piece, I like to do all of these, well, we codenamed them eyebrows. Somebody just called it eyebrows, and then now I like to call them the art pieces, but I guess eyebrows is funnier, so we're just gonna go with eyebrows. So when you apply these eyebrows, it's up to you how you want to apply them. I like to have the seams on the side, so when I'm looking straight on the lens, I don't see any seams. So when you're doing the arcs, it's very important that you close the seams so it looks seamless. Now, this is a good example. So if in any application you notice that there is a gap due to insulation, or maybe it's a little bit cold where you're at, it's super simple. Just peel it back halfway. Sometimes you notice that there is an air gap creating that. So what I like to do is reapply it, but this time I tug it just a little bit, and you can see that it closes the gap. You just want to tug it ever so slightly. Don't over tug it. If you over tug it, you're gonna overlap. Yep, so that's it. That's your quick guide on how to install the 70 to 200 Gmaster. It's very similar to any other zoom lenses that you may have. Similar setup and format.